Hello, good morning, everybody. This is Beba Cabello, co-broker at Baja Open House. I'm very excited about our first webinar. Thank you so much for you that are joining us today. Why are we doing this webinar? We have been receiving a lot of questions from clients and from homeowners here in Baja. They're wondering what is happening here. Am I able to go to my condo? Am I able to continue the transaction that I was trying to get into to get my new place in Baja? And so I thought that it would be a great way of staying in touch with all of you. If we have these live webinars, we'll be able to put your questions on the chat that is on the right-hand side of your screen. And we will be answering your questions at the end of the webinar. We can't get to all of the questions and answers. We will make new webinars that are going to be based on the majority of the questions. So today, in order to give you a better idea of what is happening here in Baja and how are we experiencing the contingency of COVID-19 and life in general, not only I want to give you my perspective as a business owner and as a real estate agent, full-time resident, also have a very special guest that I'm very, very excited to introduce to you. He is Alan Winters. He is a homeowner here at Palacio del Mar. And he is spending his time about 50-50 between Los Angeles, Hollywood specifically, Palacio del Mar. And so I think that his testimony of how he has experienced this contingency and how he's able to work both in Hollywood and here in Baja will be beneficial for many. They're wondering how can they make it work. So I would like to introduce to you Alan Winters. Alan, are you there?
I am. Beba, thanks so much. I appreciate you bringing me into the webinar.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us, Alan, and thank you for giving us your time. This is so important to us. I really think that your testimony and your comments of how you're experiencing these crazy later days will be of help for many of our friends and clients that are still outside of Baja and that would like to know when is it safe to come, what are they supposed to do, and what can they expect. Would you like to tell us first a little bit about yourself?
I'd be happy to, Beba. So again, thanks for having me on. So for the folks joining us, thank you very much for giving us your time this morning. Let me give you my personal and professional story and how that links to living in Baja now. This kind of started 10 years ago when my wife and I began visiting Baja, particularly this area south of Rosarito, on vacation. And our first vacation was a weekend. And then the next year it was a long weekend. And the following year it turned into like a week. And you can hear where this is going. We started coming for 2-3 weeks at a time. And we, over a period of years, really fell in love with this area. The people who are so nice. The food, which is amazing. Obviously, beaches and the views are spectacular. The weather is like San Diego weather. It's nice all the time. And it's not even really hot in the summer. And certainly the fact that living here is way less expensive than living in most parts of the United States was really appealing too. The whole notion of this is a place where you can have a really high standard of living and cut your cost of living, which is kind of unusual. So 3 years ago, after having enjoyed these annual and sometimes 2 times a year vacations to Baja, we were very happily introduced to Beba, who became our real estate consultant and agent, and we started looking for a home. And about 2 years ago, we bought a home at Palacio del Mar in one of their luxury towers. We've really enjoyed living here. And as Beba said, we live here kind of half time. We're here at Palacio del Mar in Baja part of the time, and the rest of the time we're in Los Angeles. It's really different style of life. Very, very busy in Los Angeles, really quiet here. And we so appreciate the fact that when we get here, everything slows down, from our heart rates and blood pressure to just what we see and experience, and just great for the mind and the spirit and the body. I still work. I work full time. I am a partner and COO in a health services company. We provide wellness services to hospitals, to doctor networks, to EAP firms. And as a result, the reason I bring that up is to be able to work full time and productively, I need to be able to do that seamlessly as I move between Los Angeles and Baja. And the nice thing is I'm able to do that. And I'll get into a little deeper discussion of what it's like to work here. But I use Baja, and my wife and I use Baja as a place to retreat to, where we will ultimately live here full time. But for now, a place we can pop back in and out of. So even, what is that like right now to pop back in and out of Baja when supposedly the border is closed? I'll share some thoughts on that as well. But Beba, I think that gives people kind of an overview of my story and why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you for telling us a little bit more about yourself. Let's dive into the first topic, which is how COVID-19 has impacted Baja. Firstly, I would like to give you a little bit of a general scenario of Mexico. Although we all know that testing has not been available as in many other countries, we have an idea of how we're doing. And in general consensus is that the very busy big cities having great problems. Great advantage that we're having here in Rosarito, where we only have 55 confirmed cases, and from there are 7 confirmed deaths, is that because we have such low density, it's actually kind of hard to get infected. So I can tell you that my experience here was in the first weeks, even after the government had closed schools, some people were reluctant to using their mask and keeping the social distancing. After a couple of weeks, we saw a huge change on how locals were taking it very serious. If you go to the restrictions, as you're supposed to be only one shopper per household, you are required to use a mask. Very nice thing to point out about shopping here in Mexico for the general basics is most stores are very well stocked because we don't have that many people shopping out here. Alan, how have you experienced these last weeks in your visits here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you covered the key stuff, but you talked about shopping. We have to go food shopping. Everybody needs to buy food. It's essential. And what I found really interesting, Beba, is even as carefully planned as things are in Los Angeles at places like Trader Joe's and general supermarkets, I found things way more careful here. For example, when I walk in to the local best supermarket called Calamax, somebody squirts disinfectant in my hands. The person who does that is wearing a mask and gloves. I'm handed a cart that somebody wipes off as they give it to me. And everybody in the store, from staff to customers, is wearing a mask for their own and for others' protection. And it's just really careful. So I'm actually quite impressed by Beba. As you said, the adjustments in behaviors didn't happen as quickly here as in the States. But I'm really impressed with the experiences. Like, I felt totally relaxed and safe anywhere I've gone to.
Yes, I agree. And one thing to point out is that my experience here talking about shopping was amazingly different when I tried to go shopping in Tijuana. I saw the parking lot and the line outside. I simply turned back, drove back to Rosarito. I went to Little Calimax and I was able to get everything that I needed. The difference between being in a big city, and I would imagine that it's the same over there in the States, and being in a small town where you simply have less per square acre. And it's been a lot more relaxed, I think, here in Rosarito to live through these last days. Talking about how COVID-19 has impacted Baja, I think that we should cover some basic things for everybody's information. Tourism in general. Hotels are open at lower capacity. So what they're doing is that they only have about 50 rooms. For an example, in the Rosarito Beach Hotel, they only have about 50 rooms available. When you want to book a trip to Baja, you are probably going to have rooms around you that are going to be empty, and the density, for example, in the restaurant that is open for their guests, going to be a lot less. You're probably going to have a lot of tables empty around you. When it comes to services like restaurants and there's, like, for example, hairdresser, nail services, cleaning, construction. Up until the 23rd of April, when the phase 3 was declared here in Mexico, we still could get a lot of services with many precautions. For example, I was able to get my nails done, but of course I was the only one inside. They would only schedule one client at a time. After the 23rd of April, many services are not available or available with more restrictions. For example, food. You used restaurants while you were here, Alan?
Yeah, we take out food, Beba. We've yet to be able to sit at a restaurant, one of our favorite places, but the takeout has been really, really easy. All of the places we particularly like in this area, south of Rosarito, SoRo, have figured out how to service their customers with I don't like using delivery services, so I'd rather just pick up the food. I think they've all figured out how, we've had dinner, ceviche, fresh fish. We've had chicken pot pies from Blue Galley and quiches from there. We've gotten pizza from Ali's Pizza. And they've all kind of figured out how to do it right. One thing, Beb, I did want to throw on the table that I think is relevant for people to know is there are occasional stop points. There are checkpoints. I drove down to Ensenada about 3 weeks ago to do a large fresh fish shopping, because there's a particular place I like to go to there. There was no traffic for 25, 30 minutes, not even barely a car on the road. And then for about 10 minutes, I was in traffic where they asked why I was going to Ensenada and actually took my temperature on the spot. So I didn't resent that at all. I thought it was good. I thought it was good that, my personal feeling is it is good to have safety precautions. It's also good to make things available, but I think it's also good to do it in a smart, health-oriented fashion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're right. So what those checkpoints are they call it filtros sanitarios by the Mexican government. And what they are doing is that, first off, they're taking temperature of some people. They're making sure that you have a mask. They might ask you where you're going. In general, they're preventing just going out for fun or big crowds. If you say, I'm going to Baja to my home, I'm going to buy fish in Ensenada, or I'm going for a closing in downtown Rosarito, I'm going to get through those points without a problem. So they're still open. In general, the idea is you have to do something, you can go and do it. They just don't want you to say, I'm going to a party with 20 people, or I'm just going to lay at the beach. I have a question actually on the chat. Mike O'Brien is asking, do we have any idea of when the beaches, bars, and restaurants are going to be reopened? The Mexican government came up with a stage reopening. So we have they have it like a traffic light. Is the red, the yellow, and the green. Right now in Tijuana, they're still in red, and here in Rosarito, we're moving slowly into reopening some things. Most everything is still takeout. The beaches are still closed, and the reason that is that the beaches are federal, because the federal government still has. The federal is going to act based on the entire amount of cases in Mexico. So locally, we can't reopen the beaches in Rosarito. What I noticed is that some of the gated communities are allowing the use of beaches to the residents, because of course the police or the federal government is not going to go and check those my private beaches. But definitely downtown Rosarito is still closed for beach access. Bars and restaurants are still closed. I know that in La Fonda, which is in kilometer 58, some restaurants that have a lot of outdoor, very spacious areas are opening for dining in La Fonda. So, and going back to tourism, we said that we have probably the beaches are closed, but you can rent. Other thing that's important to mention: Airbnb actually stopped reservations for condos, but a lot of people are reserving directly with the homeowners or through administration from the private communities. Now, real estate. For some of you that are joining us today and that have a home here, maybe first you are trying to sell your home or you're trying to buy a home. We are able to property as long as we follow the safety precautions. We're requiring everybody to wear a mask, and only the interested party is able to go into the properties. Many of us agents, what we're doing is that we open the property first, let the client go in and look at the property. Then once they're out, then we lock, and then outside is where we would have conversations. Is real estate still active? Yes, we're getting actually in the last couple of weeks we've been receiving new offers. So what happened in general is that when there is adjustments in the markets, people move. So a lot of people from big cities is looking to move this area. So that would be kind of a general idea of how the real estate market is doing. Now, Alan, I want to go back to your experience traveling in and out of Baja when you're going back to Los Angeles.
Yeah, Beba, I've done it 4 or 5 times since this health crisis impacted so many of us. Generally speaking, there's a couple of things to bring up. One, crossing the border at any time is a little bit of a crapshoot. You don't really know what's going to happen, right? You could go 3 straight Tuesdays at 11 in the morning, and you could get across the border in a few minutes, particularly if you're in the Century Lane. And you could go on a 4th Tuesday, and it takes you an hour. So it is unpredictable, generally speaking. But here's what I found over the last few months. One, the border is not closed. So coming into Mexico is no different than it's ever been. So no change. Going back to the US from Mexico is not much different either. I have been asked the same question or two each of my times. Do you have anything to declare? And possibly a second question, why were you here in Mexico? The answer you certainly don't want to give is, I was on vacation and partying. That would not be a good answer. And it's not the answer I give. The crossing time in the Century Lane has, across the return trips to the US that I've recently done, has ranged from as little as about 90 seconds to as much as about 45 minutes. And the real difference is There's not that many people going back across the border. There are not. But the issue is how many booths, how many customs booths are open to accommodate the cars coming through. When I went through fast, many of the booths were open. When it took 45 minutes or so, only 3 of the booths were open. So even though it was not that much traffic, it took a little longer. Looking to my side at the ready lanes and the regular passport lanes, they are busier. But generally speaking, the amount of cars going back into the States is way less. So my experience is that it's not much different than normal times. Like I said, coming into Mexico from San Diego, easy peasy. Going back to the States is generally good, and occasionally it might be used to. But other folks I've talked to, neighbors of mine at Palacio del Mar, have had similar experiences. Nobody has had a bad experience where, they were really pulled aside and felt like there were problems.
It's very, very good to know. Okay, so we are going to go from traveling Baja to what's happening here with the community. This is an inspiring story. As this crisis started with the COVID-19, and as we all know, many people have lost their jobs or is not able to go to work yet, even if they still have a job. Eventually, they're going to be able to go. But right now, the community, as in many places, is suffering. It's very inspiring to see how the expat community and also the locals have gotten together to help those in need. I'd like to mention, just because it's so amazing what they've been doing, the La Misión Children's Fund. They are paying over 300 families a week. There is a new group in Facebook of local expats that organized a series of food runs that have raised now and donated over $30,000 in food goods to families that are in need. The Rotary Club of La Misión is working together with the Children's Fund and the La Misión Food Bank to feed many, many families. And if we are going to, at the end of the webinar, we're going to include in our chat the websites if anybody's interested in helping these organizations that are doing excellent work here in Rosarito. And so we're going to go now from this wonderful story to your experience at Palacio del Mar and what's been new Palacio.
Yeah, thanks, Beba. Let's stay with the health and safety part. I think that's a good place to begin, and then I'll go beyond that. On the health and safety front, the most important thing automatically happens at Palacio, which is there's not a lot of people. So in terms of public safety, the worst thing you could do is be in a crowded, enclosed place. That is not Palacio del Mar. If you go through a stroll on the grounds, you might pass 1 or 2 people, maybe. If you hang out by the pool, maybe there's a few other people and they're 30 feet away. Even if you go into the gym, which is based on, you're choosing to do that. So it is not business as usual, but you're encouraged to clean after yourself with wipes and potentially wear gloves in there. But I would say the best thing about being at Palacio is it's just not crowded. So you've already got, Beba, your number one safety factor, which is don't be in crowds and try not to be indoors in crowds. And that's happening. So I'm really appreciative of that. It just means you're more relaxed. I do wear, Beba, a mask going down in the elevator. The minute I get out of the elevator and get outside, I put it in my pocket because I don't need to wear it. And when I come back to the elevator, I put it back on. There's a few really nice things. Every elevator has hand sanitizers, dispensers along the wall next to the buttons, because we know you're pushing buttons, and that means you're potentially coming into contact with germs So as you get out of the elevator, a little squirt on your hands in the elevator, and you're good to go, and you don't have to worry about it. I noticed that in common areas, the lobby, the lounge areas, there's a lot of cleaning taking place. So I see the staff is really on top of things. One day, even, I opened my door and Veronica was wiping the outside door handle of our unit, which I really appreciated. So, from a safety point of view, I feel the building's doing what they need to do. One thing connected to that that's interesting is flipping from health more to security. And this is something that is new from just the last 6 months. Is speaking of elevators, each elevator is activated by a fingerprint detector. So every resident and the family of that resident gets their fingerprint taken. So now to go up in an elevator at Palacio, it has to recognize your fingerprint, which is not inconvenient. It's just as easy as pushing a button, but it's secure. And on the security side, I just noticed from the front gate to people patrolling at night, there's just a pretty high level of attention to making sure everybody feels safe. So I would say from the safety side and the security side, I'm really comfortable with what's going on here. People still are. I noticed even there, some of this does come down to how do the residents behave, and even when I've talked to other folks, everybody's been automatically respectful and has kept kind of a 6 foot or more distance from other people. So you're carrying on conversations, you're not uncomfortable. So I would say, given this, what I'm going to call the new normal. I think the new normal is taking place at Palacio in a pretty good fashion.
It's great to hear. It's great to hear. You also mentioned, and I would like to share with everybody some of the new amenities at Palacio del Mar, more of the fun things to do at Palacio
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah, because it's not all about masks and social distancing. So Beba, for folks who are not right on top of things, there's now a cafe on the property, and there's a lovely couple who prepares breakfast and lunch right by the pool. Right now, you cannot dine in the restaurant for this health safety reasons, but you can eat by the pool. You can have food brought to your unit, which is really nice. And Beba, I don't know if you've tried the food, but it's just really nice salads and sandwiches and egg dishes from a couple that actually really cares about doing a good job. Have you had their food?
Yes, I have. Actually, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. So that's a feature here, which is wonderful. We have, as anybody who knows me knows, they're most likely to see me walking our 2 pugs. So we're really happy that a dog park is under construction in progress. And that's just off to the side of the main entry gate. So it's really nice because I know a lot of other homeowners here do have dogs. So having a space where they can run around and it's enclosed and you don't have to worry is great. I already mentioned the safety features. It's really modern. Even our super high-end concierge, 24/7 concierge building in Hollywood does not have the security features that we have here, which is great. And I do a lot of walking around the property, Beba. If you walk 4 times around here and where the restaurant next door is, you've walked over 2 miles. And the landscaping here, which I long ago thought was just okay, I thought it had the potential to be great. It just looks beautiful. The folks who are now doing gardening and landscaping, who seem to be here literally all day, every day, like 6 or 7 days a week, they've just done a great job. So flowers are popping everywhere. The lawns look great. The palm trees look great. The property just looks gorgeous. And honestly, I thought it was a weakness of Palacio a few years ago that it really wasn't hitting its potential. And I think now it is, and it looks lovely.
Very, very great to hear. Great. Yeah, I have also noticed that the landscaping really has come together now. And the dog park is actually a big hit. A lot of people that were thinking about moving to Palacio are excited and have been asking about that. So besides the amenities that are already in place at Palacio for current residents, I would like to go into Tower 2 because this is one of the very repeated questions lately on my emails from of clients that have been thinking about purchasing in Tower 2 and for the ones that are already in contract. I would like to just talk about what we are offering in Tower 2 and how COVID-19 has affected our completion dates. So besides the new amenities that the current residents have in Palacio, that are the bistro, the dog park that Alan just mentioned, Tower 2 will offer amazing new amenities like a first aid room in the lobby for Tower 2. Going to be a convenience store. The convenience store completes the idea of putting a bistro in Palacio. The main idea is if you're coming from your main home you don't have to bring big shopping. You can either eat at the restaurant here, or you can even buy your basics at the convenience store that we're going to have at the lobby. So we're just trying to make it so that it's a very easy step to say, I'm just going to spend a weekend. I don't have to go for a big shopping. I can just my basics there and eat at the restaurant. Of course, the units are large enough that somebody can be here full time. They're the most spacious units in the area. Besides the convenience store, we're going to have an arts crafts room, which is also a big hit. And the reason is many of our potential clients are moving from large homes to a condo. And one of the big obstacles was, well, what am I going to do with what I used to do in my garage? Where am I going to put my tools? Or can I still do my sculpture? Or I love painting and I don't want to paint inside a condo. So Tower 2, we're going to have an arts and crafts room that's going to be very spacious, going to have proper ventilation and work tables, and that opens up the possibility of living in a condo for many people that still want to have a hobby that needs space and ventilation. The other of new amenities is a ballroom. So it's going to be a big room where we can host a big party. And we're going to complete the massage areas in the existing clubhouse. So for some of you that already know Palacio del Mar, the clubhouse is completed except for a small area that we allocated for massage and facials and pedicures and manicures. Those will be open with Tower 2. It's going to be great, a great asset. So the progress, completion dates for Tower 2. There is already extensive progress in Tower 2. All windows and slide doors have been installed, and the flooring is already laid in almost 100% of the interiors. Bathroom areas are also already done in about half of the tower, leaving some condos without the flooring and the bathrooms for to choose their own finishes. But due to this pandemic, as the Mexican government entered the phase 3 on April 21st, construction became a non-essential business and we had to suspend activities. As we managed to continue construction for almost 4 weeks, but it had to officially stop by the first week of May. So the plan now is to continue as soon as the government reopens the non-essential businesses. As soon as we reopen the non-essential businesses in Mexico. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the government has indicated that phase 3 will be lifted in stages and is going to be based on the amount of new infections reported in each municipality. We're expecting that Rosarito will reopen very soon. So, all of this being said, we don't have a set date to continue construction in Tower 2, but we're expecting that it's going to be very soon. And it's possible that the density of workers in an area will be controlled. And with this, what plan that we have right now, that the completion will be set per condo instead of for the entire tower. So the first condos that were sold will be the first one that are going to be finished. And as we enter into new contracts, estimating that delivery for new contracts is going to be approximately 12 months. signing those contracts. And going to, I would like to go back. That was report on Tower 2, and I would like to go back to Alan and have you share with us how have you experienced working here in Baja? Because we have a lot of people that's thinking that maybe they would like to spend this quarantine and to be at home working, do it down here where they would have, I think many advantages. And also, a lot of us have now realized that a big part of what we do for a living, we can do it from our homes. Do you want to share with us how is your experience working at home here in Baja?
Yes, Beba, I'd be happy to do that. And I do want to jump back to one thing that I neglected to say about kind of what's happening at Palacio, new and improved. And I'd really be remiss without mentioning this. The Homeowners Association here at Palacio and the folks who are residents who really devote a lot of time to this, and I might miss some folks, but folks like Murray and Mike who are working in association with building management, Larry and Anita, a lot of the really good stuff happening here has been propelled by their efforts. And I would be shortchanging those, really significant efforts that they're making to improve the quality of life for all residents on their own time. So things like the dog park, things like landscaping, the movement forward on those fronts, certainly building management deserves credit, but as do certain key residents who are relatively recent residents of the building and have injected very positive energy into improving the quality of life here. So I did want to mention that, Beba, and I'm sure you're aware of that as well.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I know them, and they're all great assets for the community. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, they are, and it's much appreciated. And for anybody considering living here, I think it's a big issue. What are the people like who not just live in Baja or in this area, SoRo, south of Rosarito, but the people like here, and they're really nice people who take responsibility for being good citizens and neighbors to the benefit of everybody. So I wanted to mention that. As far as working here, it's actually pretty easy. And the criteria that you need to use for any remote work situation is, can you conduct your work? Can you do your job as efficiently as you would somewhere else, as efficiently as you would in an office? And work is changing for lots of people. So folks like me who left the corporate world, a decade or so ago and have been working out of home for a while, COVID-19 has not changed anything. I'm still working out of home. It's no different. But I've talked to folks ranging from, honestly, Philippines to Switzerland to Wales to various cities in the United States as part of what I do for a living. And all of them are talking about situations where companies and individuals are going to shift where they work. They may no longer go to an office, or they may only go there part-time for key meetings. And they're going to be working out of home somewhere between a lot and possibly all the time. Plus, there's been a shift in work over many years for home-based operations. So for me, because I'm talking to people all over the world, I'm on Skype all the time. I'm on Zoom, Join.me, Microsoft Team meetings all day long. Like, honestly, starting at 7:38 every morning, I need to know a couple of things. One, that there's Wi-Fi that's good, and two, that there's mobile service that's good. Generally speaking, the Wi-Fi here is good. It goes down once in a blue moon, usually comes back up pretty quickly. The mobile service, I use Verizon, I'd say is good 95% plus of the time. Not always, but almost all the time it's good. And those are the critical factors for me to be able to conduct business. And I'm talking to C-level executives. I'm talking to heads of primary care who oversee 2,000 doctors. This cannot get screwed up. Nobody will forgive me. Oh, I'm in Mexico. That's why it didn't go well. They'll think I'm a knucklehead. So that all needs to go really smoothly, Beba. And I'd say virtually all the time it does, which is great. So from an efficiency point of view, working here in Baja and at Palacio is pretty much the same as working in Los Angeles. Now, the best part is it's just as productive and I'm just as efficient, but I've got amazing views. I spend all day on calls and online meetings, while beyond my MacBook is just views of the ocean. Pretty great. Um, it's amazing how focused you can be when all distractions are removed. So at the same time as it's relaxing, it's also kind of distraction free. You'd think, wow, you're at the beach. That must distract you. How do you ever get anything done? Well, you get everything done. And when you're done, you say, great, I'm going to go for a walk on the beach now. I'm going to go to the walk downstairs and go to the gym. So this environment of having high efficiency with a great standard of living, and the cost of living part's important. I'll just give you one example, because we had cable hooked up for us at the end of last year, on top of internet service, or the service we already had. And I'm used to in Los Angeles paying about $150 a month for a suite of premium cable channels and basic cable service. Here, I think I paid $300 for 6 months of service. And I have more channels. It's just better. Pretty much it. This is a whole, Beb, as you know, this is a whole separate conversation. But from a cost of living point of view, you can pretty much assume that compared to an LA or a San Francisco or even a Sacramento or a Denver, things are going to cost here anywhere between 25% and 75% of what they cost in the States. That's pretty much across the board. Bringing one of our pugs to the vet yesterday for a variety of things, the whole cost, including a bunch of medications, was like $55. In the States, it would have been a $400 or $500 visit without question. So when you can bring down your cost of living, all of a sudden you have money to do all sorts of things, and you don't even have to think about it. We got food the other night from Marea Alta, which is one of my favorite places, a sort of seafood mixed with general stuff like pasta and burgers, just up the road from Palacio. And the dinner we took in, which was like $35, giving a really good tip to the guys, that would have been $80 or $90 in the States, what we got. So I think all of this plays into why living and working here really works from both a productivity point of view, a financial point of view, and creating a quality of life that's very positive. Beba, did I cover that?
I would have to agree with you. And like I said earlier, one of the realizations with this entire quarantine is that many individuals that before had to go to an office now will continue their activities online. So that opens up many options for many. And I think that Baja would be an incredible option for a lot of people that would like to come here and live for a fraction of the price and with all the advantages and the wonderful views. So,
sure. Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, so I think we pretty much have covered the general topics that we wanted to share with everybody today. I don't know if we have questions on the chat. We pretty much covered it all.
We did, Beba. And Beba, I would say for any attendees, I know you would be happy to, as well as myself, we're happy to follow up with any questions that arose coming out of this webinar. And I know folks, Beba, can feed those questions to you directly, correct?
We have everybody that attended today had a private link. So that means we connected with you through email addresses. So we're going to give you a recap on your email about the questions. The only question that I think that I see here is about when are the beach is gonna reopen. And like I said, if you have a condo or a home in a private community, the homeowners association of each community is deciding how they manage their common areas and access to the beach. For example, where I live, we can go to the beach as long as the groups are less than 10. Palacio del Mar, for an example, I know that they're allowing the use of all common areas as long as the density is low. And Alan, have you tried to access the beach here at Palacio?
Not here at Palacio, but I did try to go to La Mission Beach, Beba, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. The first time I went, I strolled the beach for an hour. The second time I went, a few days later, I was not able to park. I was told there is no access to the beach.
Okay. And I think that has to do, like I said, the closing the beaches is an official statement by the federal government, but how it is implemented will have to do with the specific little place where you try to access the beach. So downtown Rosarito is closed. Again, the gated communities will most likely give access to the residents. Like where I live, we have access here in Palacio. I'm pretty sure the beach is open. Definitely the common areas are open. You're talking about La Mission. It would depend on where you're going that you would have to confirm how beach access is. Dustin Gannon is asking, how do we get started to find a home? Absolutely, Dustin. We'll reach out to you back on an email because we can show you property with all the safety precautions that you are safe and we're safe. And get here from the States, again, you shouldn't have a problem as long as you have, you just say that you're coming to look at property. Asking what are the options for purchase and do you need cash up front? Yeah, I'm going to give you the general rule. In general, yes, you can get bank financing here in Mexico, even as a foreign. Have to go through some requirements, like in order for you to get financing here in Mexico through a bank, you will have to first have a residence card, which is not the easiest to get. As we to find options, many times the other two options that you're going to have is buying with owner's financing or refinancing or taking a line of credit from the US and paying here in cash. Yeah, for an example, Palacio del Mar, the developer offers financing with 35% down. In general, homeowners that would take owner's financing will also request about 35% payment. Usually the length of the financing goes from 5-10 years average. We would have to see specifically which home you're looking for, and I'll reach out to you after the webinar. It says, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Karen, for attending. Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for coming to the webinar. Alan, would you like to close up with something?
No, Beba, other than saying I really appreciate your inviting me to the webinar, and thank you everybody for joining us, and I wish everybody a great rest of day.
Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you so much, Alan, for your time and for sharing with us your experience in Baja. Take care, everybody. We'll be in touch very soon. Gracias.
Was the great Lester Young.